Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brandon Samuel, and I'm representing Group 2, and this is our Crewbox PowerPoint presentation. My group consists of myself, Lyndon Hussein, Elisa Kitterman, Eden Kamraj, Nathan Pandalal, Nikran Joseph, Rylan Ali, and Brandon Miraj. The purpose of this project is to reduce household expenses and reliance on imported market produce by encouraging families to grow and consume their own locally produced vegetables through a home garden grow box system. It aims to help decrease our food importation bill while strengthening community food security. The project also seeks to present the completed grow box setup and highlights its key features, while showcasing the growth progress of the seedlings used. And finally, the project aims to provide training that equips both the able and the differently able community members with the skills to build and maintain their own sustainable home garden grow box system. I will now pass you on to Nathan Panalal, who will give you a briefing on our food importation bill. Nathan?
Good day, my name is Nita Palan. Today I'm presenting the Food Importation Bill of Trinidad and Tobago. The National Food Import Bill represents the total financial expenditure on food products sourced from other countries, exposing a national vulnerability and a significant outflow of foreign exchange. Governments often set policies and targets to reduce this bill, aiming to increase national food security and economic resilience. For instance, regions like the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, have a 25 by 2025 target to reduce food import by 25% by the year 2025 by promoting local alternatives. In this year's budget, the government of Trinidad and Tobago expand on this by aiming for a 25% reduction by 2030. According to Trading Economics, Trinidad and Tobago annual food import reached a record high of $7.3 billion in 2024. A major category including vegetables and fruit, which is 93.48 million, cereals, which are 84.91 million, sugar and confectionery, 82.98 million. Country is working to reduce this dependency through initiatives aimed at boosting regional production, as it currently imports around 89% of food need. Events like the Caribbean Food and Beverage Trade Show 2025 highlights local food innovations and the importance of boosting local production to achieve food security. Trinidad and Tobago imports a wide variety of food products. The government is focused on a revitalization project that begins with the distribution of 100 tons of high-yield rice seeds from Guyana to 37 farmers in May. This initiative is part of a large plan to modernize the industry, which include infrastructure improvements and strong partnership with increased yield, improve farmer profitability, and boost food security. The second distribution ceremony is held in November 2025 with another 35 farmers receiving seeds. Home gardening and the use of modern solutions such as grow boxes offer a practical way to combat the rising food importation bill and enhance food security at the household level. Next, I would like to present Nikran Joseph, who will be speaking about the importance of home gardening and the advantages and disadvantages of grow boxes. Nikran?
What is home gardening and why is it important? Home gardening is the practice of cultivating plants such as vegetable, fruits, herbs, or ornamental flowers in a residential space for personal use, consumption, or enjoyment. The significance of a home garden is its benefit to food security and nutrition by providing fresh, nutrient-rich produce as well as for physical and mental health through physical activity and stress reduction. Going to say, what is a grow box? A grow box is known as the production of crops in an enclosed box-like structure using a special mixture inside a box to grow crops. The advantages and disadvantages of a grow box system. Advantages are controlled environment, space efficiency, higher yields, no seasonal limits, pest accessibility, and easier to manage soil quality. Disadvantages: high initial cost, limited growing space, and soil drying out quickly.
I'm now passing you on to Elisa Kitterman.
As it relates to primary research, the group would have gathered digital questionnaires from over 30 persons via WhatsApp regarding information such as demographic, crop preferences, garden experiences, and interests in a tutorial video for the use of the grow box that we have designed. Secondary research involved looking at existing designs for grow boxes and also looking at the materials that would have been used for grow boxes and how they would have been beneficial, or looking at the pros and cons of their uses. Additionally, we would have gathered information on the food importation bill within Trinidad and Tobago, as well as recent budget modifications with the new government. In combination, the primary and secondary research methods have enabled us to confirm on design as well as materials, in addition to confirming a budget for sourcing materials and getting design completed.
Good day everyone, my name is Brendan Hussain, and today we are going to discuss the problems identified or encountered whilst constructing our grow box project. Sourcing materials. For example, running out of screws during construction of the grow box. Running out of screws during assembly caused delays as additional chips had to be made to the harvesters to find the correct size and type. This did not only affect the workflow, but it also affected the project schedule. Space constraints. Another significant issue was finding an appropriate space to build the products. Working in small or shared spaces made it difficult to maneuver large pieces of material and slow down the construction process. The lack of a stable, spacious environment also contributed to the measurement errors and increased time taken to complete certain tasks. Parallax error during construction. During the installation, parallax error with placement of the grow bag became a recurring problem. When taking measurements and marking positions, the angle at which measuring tape was viewed caused slight inaccuracies. These inaccuracies led to components being misaligned or placed slightly off-center. Wooden pallet disassembly. At the beginning of the build process, disassembling the pallet while trying to keep the boards intact slowly became an issue because the nails that held the pallet together were challenging to remove, therefore increasing the time taken to construct on the grow box. I will now pass you on to Brandon Samuel, who will be discussing the types of vegetable grow box systems. Brandon?
Types of vegetable grow box system. 3 designs were chosen to be displayed in this project. Design 1, which is a bamboo hydroponic grow box system. This system can be set up by, firstly, positioning the bamboo structure in a desired location and securing the structure. Next, we install a pump and water reservoir and connect tubing to each bamboo tube. We then fill the trough with nutrients and solution and plant our seedlings along each opening of the bamboo tube. Plants that are ideal for this structure are herbs, small root crops, and leafy greens. The pros of this design are, firstly, it's organic, meaning non-plastic, therefore no contamination of the environment due to microplastic. It's cheaper than PVC, and it's stronger than PVC due to bamboo having natural fibers that run in one direction, giving it a very high tensile strength. The cons of this design are it's prone to rotting due to increasingly high exposure to moisture. Next, it absorbs the plant nutrients as bamboo tend to act as a sponge, absorbing nutrients from the water or moisture in the plants. The next design of choice is a greenhouse drum grow box design. This design can be set up by, firstly, cutting a barrel horizontally to a desired length and width. Next, adding a PVC rib to form a support frame. Then the barrel is filled with soil and nutrients, and the frame of the barrel is covered with a netting that is secured on both ends of the barrel, leaving an adjustable open and close box. Then the netting is then further adjusted and the seedling is planted inside of the barrel. Plants that are ideal for this design are herbs, small root crops, and leafy greens. The pros of this design are, firstly, its protection from natural elements such as insects and the weather. Better resource efficiency as it does not require much resources to be constructed. The con of this design would be it requires setup knowledge, not so common among persons. Thirdly, design 3, which is a wooden pallet grow box suspended with chains. To set up this design, we would firstly use wooden pallets to build the box as shown in this picture, attach metal hooks to the corners of the box, and then attach chains to the hooks and anchor on a wall or sturdy frame. We would then fill the box with soil and plant the seedlings. Plants that are ideal for this structure are herbs, small vegetables, leafy greens, and flowers. The pros of this design are, firstly, it's cost-effective, it's eco-friendly, and it's customizable. The cons of this design are decay due to moisture, chemical contamination of soil or crops due to the pallets being treated, and lastly, physical harm in construction phase from splinters. Why this design was chosen? This design was chosen from the analysis of our questionnaire results. Feedback showed that materials were cost-effective and readily available, the ability of the wooden pallets to be easily customizable, and lastly, the design's ability to take into consideration access to the able and the differently abled. These were factors that all impacted this design of choice. I will now pass you on to Rylan Eiley, who will discuss our construction phase. Rylan?
Good day everyone, my name is Rylan Ali, and today I'll be presenting the construction phase and final design part of the presentation. This here is a video of a time-lapse video of how we went about doing the process to build the final design.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Brandon Samuel and I'm the group leader for Group 2, and these are my group members. We have Elisa, Lennon Hussein, Rylan, Nekron, Nathan, Brandon Maraj, and Eden. And this is our video documenting the building and the construction of the grow box using wooden pallets and is suspended by steel chains.
So this part here, basically, we're removing all of the loose wooden pallets, trying to determine the base and the size of the base to determine how like the sealants would fit. So you see here we're using the crowbar to remove all of the pallets. Also, we had to remove all of the loose nails, and as you could see, some of the pallets was kind of stuck on, so we had to also use a hammer. Right, you can see here we're taking measurements to determine how the actual size of the base and how we want it. Here we're using some of the loose pallet boards that we removed to use it as the walls. As you can see, the excess remaining will be the base. can see here we're removing all of the ends on the base so the walls can line up properly. You can see here we hammering down some of the loose boards to the walls. You can see here we looking at the best way to add in the walls and also put in the screws for the chain. You can see here we're determining the best and most secure way to add the wall so that it doesn't fall apart. Now you can see here they're using some of the loose boards that was removed from the original pallet and adding it to secure the walls. And they're using 3-inch screws in order to tack it in. See here, some of the boards is being cut to size so it could fit directly proportional to the liner. Now here you can see we looking and see how to add the grow bag. You can see it being added in. You see here they're figuring out how to tack the grow bag to the grow box. We didn't have a staple gun, so what we had to do was cut pieces of remaining pallet boards and basically use a 3-inch screw and tack it in. Here we drill any final pieces to secure the grow bag. Right, you can see we have the grow box here with the grow bag in. And here we added any topsoil, leveling it, and also compressing it down, making the various spots to add any seedlings. Alright, seedlings are being added in. So for a grow box like this, we had to add in specific type of herbs like lettuce, kale, cabbage, etc.
Based on how this is suspended, we could always adjust the length of the chain and we could send the chain up higher or bring it lower to meet the needs of the disabled. So a person on a wheelchair wouldn't be able to bend too low, they would be able to reach at a certain height. So we could adjust the chain height to suit their needs.
Right, so now I will now be passing you on to Brandon Samuel, who will be doing the solution addressing the needs of the different label. Brandon.
Solutions addressing the needs of the differently able. Our solution to this problem was to use a chain mechanism which can be manually adjusted, adjusting the height of the grow box to a certain comfortable elevation that persons which lack mobility in their knees can easily access. Furthermore, its wheelchair-friendly design allows users to access it without physical strain from stretching or leaning forward. And due to it being at a slight elevated placement, it allows users to move safely and freely without any obstructions or without any injuries due to collision with the grow box, catering for the able and disabled in the process. And lastly, based on my own personal experience and feedback from persons that viewed it, it's very aesthetically appealing to all. It brings comfort and joy for persons to look at, especially when crops are healthy and growing very well. I will now pass you on to Aidan Carmine, who will discuss the budget for this design of this grow box system. Thank you. Aidan?
Hi everyone, my name is Elon Kamraj. I was tasked with presenting the budget overview for this grow box construction. Here you will see two tables. The table on top gives a total contribution, the expenses, and the total balance remaining. The table below shows the items used, the unit cost, the quantities they were bought in, and the total price for everything. In total, everyone contributed and we raised 500 TT, and the cost to build this grow box was $449.40 TT. That leaves the balance with $50.60. If you wish to construct this grow box at home, all the items listed here can be found at your local hardware or any agricultural shop for the seedlings and topsoil and stuff like that, and the grow bag. Most of these stuff were easy to locate, as the chains, the nails, the gypsum screws, all those stuff. The only thing that was a bit tricky in a sense would have to be the pallet. That was the only tricky thing to locate. Other than that, this is the budget overview for this grow box. I will now be passing you on to Brandon Maraj. Brandon, you can take over.
Alright, thank you Aaron for the introduction. So my name is Brandon Maraj and I'll be presenting on the seedling maintenance. Going forward, to ensure the proper growth of the seedlings, we ensure that the seedlings are exposed to sunlight 6 to 8 hours daily. We also regularly water the seedlings morning and evening. We applied light fertilizer 1 to 2 times a week. Due to visual inspection of the plants, we are able to see when it is needed to portion out. We also inspect the seedling every day for insects, and we remove them if present. We ensure that there is sufficient airflow or distance between the seedlings as they began to grow. If they needed to be transplanted somewhere else, we would have done that, but the box was sufficient enough. We also made sure and ensured that the chains were properly connected and could have handled the weight of the box itself to ensure that it didn't fall and damage the seedlings. We'd also talk about the seedling monitoring, which you can see from this 4-picture display. This would be to the left. You'll see the 8 seedlings, as they grew on week 1. We have in the middle on top, we have week 2 as well with seedling progress. We had week 3 with the seedlings flourishing, and we also had week 4 picture where the seedlings were still growing and still flourishing. I will now pass it on to Elisa Kitaran for recommendations and improvements.
Though the grow box at present functions well, there could be modifications made to the grow box, such as the use of a pulley system instead of the chains utilized that can only be adjusted by a perfectly abled person as opposed to a differently abled person. Additionally, automation of the pulley system could be beneficial to those who are differently abled, so that if they might not have as much upper mobility use, they can get the grow box to be adjusted in terms of height at the press of a button. Furthermore, in terms of the materials used for the grow box, it was recommended that seals could be put over the wood in addition to the reinforcement of the corners, and mesh over the box so that there would be better pest control methods. Lastly, prior to the assembly of the grow box, it was recommended that a front and rear end location is carved out for easier access for the differently abled, so that overhead access is not the only point of access for them. All in all, these recommendations would give a much better product that is still just as affordable but more user-friendly and more suited for the differently abled. Overall, the purpose of the assignment was to design and build a grow box for the ship owners community, including the minority of the differently abled, and this was done. The grow box design was under $600 and it functioned optimally, being able to facilitate crop growth. The design of the system also allowed for height adjustment for the differently abled, and overall the grow box was effective at meeting the team's goal. Additionally, whilst the team did experience challenges along the way, these were overcome with brainstorming and efficient scenario planning. Additionally, many lessons were learned along the way, and the team would have benefited from realizing that a grow box could be done at a reasonable time frame, at a reasonable budget, and still be efficient and effective for the average person, whether perfectly able or differently abled. Any questions? That was the end of our presentation.